Your first major drawing will be the altered series drawing. In this drawing, you will select an object and using your best compositional skills, placing it on the page, your best observation skills, and your best value techniques, you will draw that object, change it, draw it again, change it one more time, and then draw it. What is an altered series? The series consists of at least 3 pieces. What if you need more than 3 drawings to tell your story? Are you able to do 4, 5? Absolutely. But at the very least, you should draw your object 3 times with at least 2 major changes to that object. Now, what kind of things can you do to your object? Well, depending on the object that you select to draw from observation, you can do any of these things, and I'm sure there are more that you can think of. People in the past have drawn even pop cans, soda cans, food, you name it, any of their devices, you name it. You want something fairly small. I don't think I would select something like a person because I mean, you could if you wanted to tell a story, if you really love to draw people, but something that you can observe, perhaps walk away from, and come back to, okay? Your mission here, part of your mission anyway, is to tell a story. What happened to this object? Is your story going to be fiction or nonfiction? And you'll see what I mean in just a minute. Okay, here are some student examples. All right. This girl, in her artist statement, as far as her story, she wrote, "This is a poem by Edgar Allan Poe, and so I wanted to show that the poem is about heartbreak." You see what she did? She selected a piece of paper, wrote the words of the poem on the piece of paper, began to crumble it, as it was a love poem, and then look what shape that the final drawing includes. Kind of a broken heart. Pretty neat. It tells a story. Notice the composition, okay? You read it like you read a book from left to right. Using rule of thirds, if I were to divide this page into thirds, I'm going to find probably the corner of the full page on the left hits about at the PowerPoint between the 1/3 grid line, okay? The heart, the piece of paper on the right, the top edge is at about another PowerPoint using the rule of thirds, okay? And the middle drawing is placed so it's smaller. It looks like there's distance, which is very good. Let's look at some more examples. These do not have to be entirely realistic. If you would like to add an imaginative element, you are more than welcome to. In his artist statement, Jesse writes, "I wanted to give the viewer an image that will capture the way music pops out and grabs people and isn't just in a device. Music is in everyday life and people live by it." This artist says, "This project taught me a lot about value and working in pencil. I learned how to add highlights and shadows by using a blender." This person, using their imagination again, "I used a different leveled pencil to create depth within the artwork. The branches are shown emerging from the dark black hole to help accentuate the fact that the hole goes deep into the ground." This artist says, "The work was intended to show proper use of shading technique through a 3-image story. I used the makeup compact to convey the simplicity of how putting makeup on is part of our everyday lives, and that someday we might see our reflection and see who we really are." These are great stories told through objects and changing the objects. Here's a very simple object, but listen to what this artist wrote. "I used multiple grade pencils to create the different values in this project. I used a blending method of shading to give the ribbon depth. Giving a drawing value creates a 3D effect, allowing the drawing to look similar to the real object. Art is capable of telling a story with deeper meaning than when first approached. This drawing begins as a simple ribbon in a jumble, but progresses to become a beautiful bow. I wanted this to be a statement about the beauty and simplicity. Something that seems ordinary can be beautiful. Notice as well, besides this very powerful statement, telling a story, notice the composition, how the eye is led around the page, using the negative space, the space between the actual objects to open things up and lead the eye around, and not have everything in a straight line, how the middle one is a little bit elevated from the other two, which makes it much more interesting had they all been in a straight line, and it would almost read like text if it were. You see what I mean? How about this one with some imagination? This drawing taught me light exposure, proportions, and illusion, says the artist. The layout of the drawing just captures my idea of video games, and I hope others feel the same. This ultimately was a very exciting and fun project. Well, thank you. Okay. This artist did not write about the story in her artist statement, so I'm going to leave it up to you. What story does this drawing tell? What would you have done to this composition to perhaps make it a little more interesting? You might want to do a reverse story. If you're going to read these like you read text in a book from left to right, notice how this almost tells a story in reverse about the apple regenerating, okay? And then finally, what technique will you use to incorporate a wide range of value? Notice what this artist did. She did a combination. What techniques did she use? If you said shading and stippling, you are absolutely correct. Okay, your criteria. You will draw the same object at least 3 times in each of your stages of change. Your drawing should be proportionate. If you do something like a pop can or some kind of food container that has lettering, your lettering has to be absolutely precise, or else your drawing will not be believable. Okay, so you might want to stick with something that doesn't have lettering. That's been my experience with this. A full range of value should be included using whatever technique you want: scumbling, hatching, stippling. You should have a well-planned composition based upon the rule of thirds, the golden ratio, or some intuition that you have about where things should be arranged on the page. If you have them, you can include colored pencils for emphasis. You do not have to. And then finally, at the end of week 4, your finished drawing will be photographed, uploaded to Artsonia, and combined with an artist statement. Okay, here's what you should remember. Okay, select your object carefully. Tell a story. Consider composition. Use your wide range of value. You can use 1 or more value techniques. And absolutely best craftsmanship. There should not be any wrinkles, tears, horrible smudges, or any kind of folds that would detract from the drawing. At the end of week 4, you will publish this. Okay, this week let's talk about how to do some planning on your drawing. Thanks for listening.